sweeten the fuck out of it. Crazy. Hey guys.
Hey.
I don't think he needs an introduction.
No. We know this.
Okay.
How are you doing?
So good. How are you?
Nice haircut, by the way.
Hey, thanks. I know I'm like a person now.
So what's wrong with Clinton this season?
Well, I guess, Quentin doesn't exist this season, really. We start with a guy named Brian, who I like to refer to as Bry Guy. He has a different outlook on the world than Quentin ever did. I think Quentin was always waiting for the sky to fall on him, and I think Brian has a rosier view of the world, and now this character has been thrust into the hands of a murderous, psychopathic child beast thing, and is getting a crash course in the idea that magic exists. I don't remember what your question was.
But the answer was
Open-ended.
So what do you, what's it like to kind of play somebody totally different?
Well, for that reason, it's cool. It's cool to someone who is in the spirit of the person he was before. He comes equipped with the same. No, let me take that back. It's the same spirit, but I think the way that he responds to stimulus is very different. We're doing sort of like a hard reboot in that like we get to see these people experience magic all over again, and cool to do it a brand new way. I think Quentin was skeptical and kind of perpetually disappointed with the things that he learned and found out about what magic was, because he needed it. It was something that he needed to solve the big problems in his life. He wanted a quick fix, and it couldn't do that. And so it was disappointing for that reason. Brian doesn't know that it exists in the first place. He would never. I don't think he's the kind of human being who ever really thought about magic, other than when he read Lord of the Rings and was like, "Well, that's sort of silly, isn't it?" It's fun to get to experience things from a whole new angle.
You're starting at the bottom and you're building it up to a higher level of excitement as opposed to going down.
Yeah. Exactly.
So it's interesting that like you're talking about like a hard reboot, because there's so much growth, and you obviously had like a little bit of a reboot this past season, right, with the puzzle episode. Where are we going to see any kind of like return to Quentin's kind of the direction he went in terms of his queerness?
Of his queerness?
Yeah.
Well,
far.
supposing that Quentin comes back.
Okay. In that context.
I think what's that?
If he never did.
He might not. We're pretty early in the season so far.
Been promised nothing.
And I've been promised nothing. I play this guy named Bry Guy who's covered in blood 90% of the time. I think the question of Quentin's queerness is an interesting one, and one that we don't have to talk about.
Okay,
You know what I mean?
yeah.
I think that's what's refreshing about it. Is that it's. I believe that sexuality is a spectrum, and I think Quentin falls somewhere in the middle of that, and I don't think it's something that. I think he's anxious about a lot of things in his life, and the fact that he's not quite anxious about that is a little bit remarkable, and something that I am choosing to lean into. Yeah.
So one of my favorite episodes from last season was the one where you and Elliot like grow old together.
Yeah.
What was that process like, and how did you guys work on that?
One of my favorite, I will say the same thing, like one of our favorite episodes to shoot is our favorite one to read. We're so excited to get to do it. It's a very fast-paced show that we're on, with high stakes, very life and death. death oriented, and exciting to get to have an opportunity for these characters to have small struggles that build up to changing life experiences, which is not something we get to do on the show often. And there's so much character growth that happens in that episode. A lot of stuff. Quentin and Elliot have a very profound relationship in the books, and one that, like, the show sometimes glosses over for just because of time, right? We allude to them being very close, but we don't have the opportunity to see it often. And this was the first time we got to do that, so it was a little bit of a dream come true for, like, Hale and I to finally have the opportunity to, like, really investigate those things about these guys whom we fell in love with when we read the books. To actually do that was a treat.
It made me cry.
What's that?
It made me cry.
It made me cry. Yeah, reading it made me cry. It's a very, very good episode, written by one of our writers named Mike Moore. He's a really, really talented writer, one of the best on the show. Their relationship will never be the same. But that's life, right? Like, you wouldn't expect it to. They're very different people now, and they've hurt each other in ways that I think surprise both of them. I think they're intrinsically entwined. I don't think that'll ever go away. I don't think they'll ever not be a part of each other's lives in some fashion. But even if you've read the novels, it's ambiguous. She died and came back to life, and he's now, especially in our show, has at least the wisdom of someone who's 120-something years old. It's a different person. He's been married. He had a child. His wife died. His child grew old and left. He fell in love with his best friend, who then died. He was responsible for saving and destroying magic and maybe the world. Like, there's a lot that has happened. So can't be the same, but probably still exists.
What goes into playing, like, acting that kind of gravitas, so to speak? Like, playing somebody who has gone through all of those things and still maintaining what you started with.
I think...
Because it seems like it's something that you can do very, like, glib, being, like, old and wise in a young person's body. What goes into that for you?
Well, I don't think anyone's ever done growing. My relationship with my grandparents and, like, older people that I know, they're not done, and they don't feel old, and they don't even necessarily feel wise most of the time. You know, I think it mostly comes into play in the way that you respond to stimulus, because something has happened to you numerous times. Like, the way that I think that Quentin specifically, like, interacts with the world and experiences, like, anxiety, is not something that is the same with this new knowledge and experience. It's not gone. It's something that is biological in some ways. But it just comes with more experience. Like, I don't,
The stimulus thing makes sense.
Yeah.
In terms of, like, knowing that things have happened before and back in.
All right, thanks so much for being here.
Cool. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it. Sure. As always.
Feeling good, staying hydrated, eating food,
Trying. 7 out of 10.
drinking stuff,
Yeah.
feeling it.
It's bedtime. Yeah.
So what does it feel like playing evil?
It feels good. It's fun for me because I've been playing the same character for 3 years, and I get an opportunity to shake up expectations of what people might think I'm going to deliver, and I think that people will be surprised, hopefully in a good way. I hope you love this monster just as much as I do. I'm sort of starting to forget about Elliot completely, so that's... Oh, I just got the look of despair. Yeah, I mean, actually, I'm a little concerned because we are 4 episodes in and I haven't seen Elliot mentioned. Well, he's mentioned because the other characters are trying to figure out like, what's going on with him, but he hasn't been around. Like, he's not going to be there for a while. So. Or at all, as far as I know. So hopefully he'll come back at some point. No, it's fun. It's fun. I mean, I miss Elliot as well. If both things can be true, they are for me. It was a little scary at first because I was kind of establishing something that wasn't established in the book, so there wasn't really a blueprint for me to pull from, and very little information even from the showrunners who are also figuring the character out as they've been writing the season. So it's kind of being constructed as we go, which is scary, you know.
What kind of decisions are you making in real time in that respect?
I'm figuring out how he moves, how he thinks, how he talks, what he wants, where he came from.
Basic character building.
Yeah, like how he can turn on a dime, and how you might not ever know where he's going to go next, what he's going to want, and how his relationships with certain characters are going to self-destruct or be constructed.
So since you mentioned that, what is his favorite food and what is his favorite movie?
He loves French fries, and he loves Audrey Hepburn movies. He loves Psycho. He loves Norman Bates. He loves Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. These are the only things that he has in common with Elliot. Yeah, but definitely there's like been a little bit of like an old Hollywood suspense thriller influence for me, which you might not even like see in the character, but it's there for me. So that's definitely. I haven't said that all day, and that's true. So.
What do you pull out of those old Hollywood characters to play this one?
The kind of like faux innocence, not faux. The character actually the monster is truly innocent, but he doesn't actually have the articulation in his mouth that like a modern day American citizen would have. So I think he's almost like pulled inspiration from things that he's seen. So I think there's a little bit of that going on. So he just talks like Audrey Hepburn. Actually, I don't know. Maybe like a little bit. Yeah. Was he? I don't think he was. With who?
With Margot.
With Elliot and Margot? It doesn't exist as far as I know because I haven't played Elliot this season at all. Truly, like he hasn't been around, so there's nothing to. But I will and I don't know if like John McNamara would disagree with me on this, but I don't think Elliot. I think Elliot feels like my crown is your crown at this point where Margot's concerned. I think back in season 2 when she like sold his baby to fairies, he was like, you know, like you go to the dungeon because you ruined everything. But I think at this point they've evolved together enough to know that they're on the same team and that there's not really a competition where that's concerned. If they're both ruling Fillory, if Elliot's High Queen, it doesn't matter. If Elliot's the steward to the High King, that sucks. But he'll always. I don't think that there's like a deep jealousy there. Not from where I stand, at least. Yeah. My favorite moment was working always working with Summer, but the episode I got to do with Jason to establish Quentin and Elliot's true like deep, profound love for each other, which I think is an essential aspect of the books and something that the show really skirted for a really long time. So I was so excited that we got a chance to start to explore that, and hopefully if you ever see Elliot again, there will be more of that. But at this point, like, you might have to just get used to the monster, because
Which is weird to just like not know if the character that you've built up for
I mean, it's a little weird, right? I mean, yeah. But I've been so focused on creating this new character that I haven't had much time to like mourn the loss of Elliot. But the other characters have a little bit more experience with that, I guess.
Do you miss his sense of humor?
Yes, but the monster is also like funny. The monster isn't like the monster's funny in his own way, which is very different than Elliot. He's not like popping a zinger, you know, and like sticking the landing of a one-liner. He's inadvertently funny. Hopefully. God, I don't know. I'm making some weird choices, you guys. I don't know if it's gonna work.
I'm sure you'll be told if it's not working. Real bad.
You'd think.
Yeah, that's good to have the chance.
Yeah.
It's good to have that kind of chance, though. Just
Yeah, I'm taking
do it
some
without a
risks.
net.
I'm taking some risks. There's no net here
That's
on the
cool.
Magicians ever, so
That's true.
you know, good luck, kids. Yeah,
That's great, though.
yeah. Thanks.
Guys, you have to wrap up there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys. Thank you so much. Nice to see you guys.
Oh, it still is. Thank you. So how you doing?
I'm good. I'm really good. Surprisingly, I have a lot of energy. I just got my second win, so that's
Right.
very exciting. Yeah.
What's it like to kind of not play yourself?
It's kind of strange. It's strange. But also what I've been telling everybody today is I still, although I am Janet and I am living under this new guise, who she is at her core, because it's safe to assume that the only thing that's been wiped from her memory is magic or any memory of it existing in the world or relating to her. So there's a huge, enormous part of her identity that has been extricated against her will. But who she is and how she sees the world and her observations through her lens and her eyes is still the same. She's still the same soul, human,
Genetics.
just does not remember anything about her life as a magician. But it's safe to assume she had an identity, obviously constructed before magic. So there's a lot of similarities, more than I thought there would be.
Does she still have that feistiness and sense of humor?
She does. I decided that was one of her core qualities, so I retained that, and so did the writers, which is lovely. And her knack for cultural references, it's all still there.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
Something to enjoy.
Yeah.
Are there any major differences that you can?
Well, yeah, actually something that happened kind of like spontaneously, because I think one of the things that I love most about Margot is her fearlessness. She's fearless. I mean, she almost doesn't think before she acts sometimes. And maybe she should have a little more fear. But anyway, so Janet is not as fearless, because I think the confrontations that Margot's had because of magic being in her life have exposed her to much more life-threatening situations than a typical job would have. So I think her fearlessness and some of her courage was probably developed over time with being a magician. And Janet has not had those experiences. So she still jumps at something spooky, and she still reacts to things in a more fearful way.
She finally got paid back.
Yes. Yeah. 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 Huge. Yeah. I mean, I kind of I never, like, when I see material, because we see so much happens on our show, and so many things do pack a punch, like that election did, an emotional heart and an emotional truth. But you can never really play to that or expect to play to that. So sometimes as I'm seeing this material, I'm not even thinking about the sort of perception of it. So when I read that, I was connected to it as the performer and as, whatever, Elliot, I can run forward too. And look what obviously I had that moment to myself, but I wasn't thinking about that. To me, I read it as very comedic on my first take, and it was really just another comedic scene and quick and what it is. But I was very quickly directed to the place that I arrived at, and I didn't expect it to play that way, but it just it felt right, and it just kind of happened in my body to react emotionally like that. I didn't even think I would. It was an interesting experience. Yeah. It was. Oh, I know. Yeah, he's so great. Anytime I do a scene with him, it's like I love it. I miss it so much. Why is he a monster? There he is.
How is it like to be using both eyes again?
It's amazing. I mean, you have no idea how much you take for granted until you've not had vision in one eye. I mean, really, just like on everyday basic skill level. But then on top of that, as a performer, it's like I feel like there's this edge that I always have season 1, season 2, season 3 that I had, and I'm still a ball of nerves about my performance, but there was always this sort of exhaustion edge that I had season 3 that I liked. It reminded me that I was doing everything in my power to have a good performance, after a good workout, that I don't have this year because there's no eye patch. So I'm like, okay, no, I'm still doing a good job. I just have 2 eyes now. So it's not as challenging as it was necessarily. So yeah, I'm glad they're back. I never in a million years would have looked like anything our amazing costume designer made. I knew she would take it there because I know her and I know the character, and we just had to do that. And I'm so glad we did. But I love the blue one, and that was my favorite. That was my all-time favorite. So, yeah. Thank you. Thanks. Thank you.
How did we select which songs? Right, there were 4 songs. Okay. How did we select that? I like that song a lot, and it was not as expensive as I feared. They were the David Bowie estate and the Queen estate, the Freddie Mercury estate were very nice. They actually made it really easy. Now this season, what are you going to stick to the book a little bit, or are you going to kind of go off on your tangent, or mix it up a little?
It's definitely both.
Oh, cool. Yeah.
We've got a lot of material still in all 3 books, but there's especially a treasure trove of material in book 3. But especially because we start the season with most of our characters having no idea who they are, we have a lot of stuff to play with that is not in the books. So kind of as business as usual for us, which is to use the source material as inspirations and do the greatest hits, and then also go off on lots of tangents with lots of characters.
How people received the 3rd season, I'd say better than any of the other seasons before that. How did how people received it kind of impact what you decided that you could and couldn't do with the 4th season? Were you able to kind of branch out, do a little bit more experimental stuff, or were you just kind of going on with what you were doing?
I can't speak for Sarah, but my own process is I don't pay attention
at all.
I don't.
Okay.
No, I can't.
Okay.
I will when it's all done.
All right.
I'll go back and I'll read all the really mean tweets and
I don't know. That's what
some of the good reviews or whatever. But no,
It's not that I'm totally on the writers obviously know, and Sarah's very savvy. But I myself just try to feel like, what's the story? Are we, did this episode work? Did that episode not work? Why? To dissect it that way internally. Because it's really, really great to get positive feedback, and it can be really helpful to get negative feedback. You can get into what I call analysis paralysis, where you're just trying to literally do the autopsy before the body's even alive. And it's a balance, you don't want to be in a basement with the doors closed and a tinfoil hat on, but we really try to keep social media down to about once every 10 minutes. We're very disciplined.
I actually had a conversation about this with the writers in the first week because I don't know if you noticed it while it was happening. I didn't notice till we were about at the episode, that 6 short stories about magic, that we really had a long run where it was one experimental episode after this one's in Penny's POV, and this one they're gonna age 50 years and die in one act, and then this one, right? And we didn't go into that self-consciously. We didn't say we were going to try and break form in every episode. There just was a lot of creativity in the room, and we're bored easily, and so and then we were very grateful that was received so well. It made me aware that we needed, as writers, to have permission to do something else this season. So we right away went in the room and told the writers they were under no obligation to try to replicate anything in particular about season 3. I think that's where you start to get in trouble. It's when you try to repeat your greatest hits. So I feel like season 4 is interesting in a different way. We still experiment with form, and we still get bored easily, but the kind of creative ideas that people brought in, for me, they're a little bit psychologically even deeper than in season 3. The thing that is front and center is character growth and development, and the really kind of sticky, difficult to pin down stuff about your mid-20s and your late 20s, and as you are sort of fully an adult in the world, how you process life. So if that's not too esoteric, that's kind of how the season is feeling. What?
Long.
Legacy.
Long.
God damn, that show went on for a long time, and it stayed amazing the whole run. Right.
Is there an overall theme to this 4th season?
Yes.
There's several. But one of them is, fascists don't always know they're fascists. This is a season where the library, who are master magicians, they're educated, they're well-meaning, they're incredibly neutral. They have a sort of prime directive about messing with history because they collect and record history, but now they are charged with controlling the flow of magic in the world, all of the worlds, and very quickly they start to step in a little bit more. And we can understand why they would do that. It's necessary to keep people safe and to keep the books safe, but that's a slippery slope, I think, pretty much right away. That's a slippery slope for them.
Yeah.
You got a creature in your first.
Mm-hmm. Don't know what it is. What can I say?
You can say that he's related to all the freshwater fish in Fillory. We could say that.
He's the lord of all freshwater aquatic creatures, but he calls himself Lord Fresh. He is himself an aquatic creature.
Today was obviously a great start.
Yeah.
Do you guys have anybody high up on the list that you'd like to have onto the show?
Felicia Day?
Felicia Day.
Is that a hope, like a pie in the sky thing, or is she definitely coming back?
We strongly suspect she might return.
You just read her
The place for
contract.
confirmation.
Yeah.
Come on.
I mean, who can we talk
Zelda
about?
Library.
Yes.
There's a much bigger arc this season.
Marina 23 just ran through the door back into the 40th timeline, so you might see her at some point quickly in the season. Oh yeah, there's some loose ends with
There's a season 1 character you don't like.
yeah.
Very bad guy. Very bad.
Todd, you might see Todd again.
Todd has a ton of fun stuff.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Was he one of those people that like kind of brought back over and over again because the actor was
It was a one-off.
fun?
You wrote it
Yeah, I
as
was
a
going
joke
to say,
about
he was a joke. Yeah, he seemed like a joke.
Literally a joke scene.
What's his name? Danny Strong and
Yeah.
Buffy.
Adam DeMarco might be the Danny Strong of.
Adam is such a terrific actor, and we love having him on set. And the whole musical was about him.
Yep.
You know, that was easy. He made that part easy.
Since your show can have a variety of things happen, what would be the ideal show you would want to cross over with?
Like an existing show?
Yeah.
Oh, that's an interesting question.
Atlanta.
Yeah. I would say Handmaid's Tale. That would be hilarious. Those people need some laugh. How about all musical Handmaid's Tale? Like, come on, bitches, get up!
That could all just be one episode.
Yeah. They need magic and they need magic, they need laughs, they need music. That place is a bummer. I've watched every episode twice. I think it's a genius show. I love it. But oh my god, that crossover would be. I'd write that for free. On that note.
Okay, on that Yes.
Yes, because it's actually a big thing.
Yeah.
In episode 7, 8.
Yes.
Yeah, there's a big twist.
We just like to work with animal actors.
Yeah. I hope you like.
We're masochists
I
that way.
hope you like lizards.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, cool.
Okay, don't lick one.
Or the first line of your character this season, if you remember.
Oh man, I don't remember.
Why don't you remember?
But I'm sure the look was like worried.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm sure there was one eyebrow raised. No, I don't remember actually. We're like a month and a half into filming, I think, so there's a lot of shit has happened.
How much of it are you allowed to talk about?
Probably none of it, but you know,
Can you give
some
like
of
a
it.
vague overview of where your character's going?
Yeah, I mean, we pick up season 4 right where we left off in season 3, which is nice. So Alice is in jail still. I'm the only one that is still the same character, and I'm the only one who knows. The other characters don't know that they're somebody else right now. So Alice kind of has an advantage/disadvantage because she's in jail. So I get to spend a lot of alone time at the beginning of a season, but it's nice. Yeah, Alice has tons of regret constantly.
Knowing too much and regret.
Yeah. I think I still stand behind what she did last season, and I think she would too. I think that she was doing the right thing, and she just wanted to protect her friends. I know a lot of people, including the fans, really didn't see it that way. They were very mad at me, but she was really just trying to do what was best for her friends and for the world. So I don't know. I don't think she regrets it, but I think she has the most complicated relationship with magic out of everybody else because she was the only one born into it. So it's something she's questioned her whole life, which is a fun thing for me to explore. I like that part about her character. Magic's never been romantic to her in any way, so that's something that I explore a lot this season, is still her relationship with magic. It's like magic and Quidditch, you can never figure it out.
He was really good.
So would you say that she's kind of tasked with making things right this year?
Yeah, I think she's a bit on her own redemption story this year. Yeah, that's what it feels like. I mean, they only give us, the scripts about a week and a half before we start shooting them. So I don't know where the whole season is going. John and Sarah would speak to that more than me, but right now it feels like a redemption season and trying to help her friends and help herself. But it's a different Alice than we saw last year. I really like to change up Alice every year, or at least every half a year, every 3 months. So I feel very much like I'm playing a little bit more of Alice from season 1, who I miss. Just kind of beaten down and starting over. She's in jail at the library. Yeah. She's in a dingy little dark cell with not a short skirt, very unflattering clothing. I'm very comfortable. I got to tell you guys, I've filmed 3 episodes now, and I haven't had to watch what I eat once on set.
How has your personal relationship kind of changed with how you engage online? Because I feel like, I mean, the show is like, Cass is very engaged more than most shows, but like for you, how has that changed over the past couple of years?
Well, it's fascinating. I've been on the internet for a long time because I had a web series for many years before that was even a thing. So I've been existing on the internet for a long time. So I've seen like the waves of the way comments and trolling, and I've watched it all happen, and I've experienced it in nasty ways for a long time. And it's finally nice to have a platform. Like The Magicians is really giving me a voice and a platform and enough people where I can like stop that kind of talk. Like I've had so many nasty things said, not like mean things, but just inappropriate things said to me on the internet. It's nice now. I feel like I have like a army of fans who have my back. So if somebody says something about like say my body or something, which is none of their business, I have all these people who, if I just say please don't say that, but tons of fans are like, don't say that. Like I feel like I have the fans have my back, and that's like I think been my favorite part about being on a show like this. Fans are really fantastic. You don't get that on some of the other projects you work on.
Now you have a solid background in comedy too. Do you?
Alice isn't funny.
I was just saying, wouldn't you like to have like maybe there's ways of being funny without meaning to, kind of?
Yeah, I think Alice has a dry sense of humor, which I have a dry sense of humor, and I've purposely asked them to not write her funny. I like that she's a straight man in the group because I rarely get to play that. And so when Alice does deliver a funny line, it's like very few and far between, and it's more satisfying. Like, you know, Alice and Margot couldn't be any more different from each other. But it's really funny because Summer and her character are very different. Me and my character are very different, but I don't know. No, I don't want Alice to ever be super funny. Leave that to Elliot and Margot.
Yeah.
Probably. I don't want to give anything away, but yeah. I also don't know what all of them are yet, but yeah.
How much project do you have with, like, in terms of, like, I guess interacting with the writers and, like, kind of seeing where your character is going from, like, an emotional growth kind of standpoint? Do you have a whole lot of, like, interaction with them?
They keep everything pretty close, but they're open to questions and suggestions. But I think in season 4 of a show, they know how to write for us. They write our characters very well. We play them very well, and it's more like major arcs that I just kind of want to know. I think in the beginning I wanted to know everything, mostly because I wanted it to be just like the books. But once you throw that out the window, it's kind of like I just want to know like the grand scheme of things. What's the theme of the season? And I don't really need to know anything else because nobody knows my character better than me. So no matter what they write, I make it my own, and I make it the Alice that I know. And we respect each other's process really well because sometimes they'll write scenes that are really fantastical and on the page might seem crazy and too fantasy or too sci-fi or I don't know, just ridiculous. I mean, our show is ridiculous, but then it's all of our job to ground it, and I think we just have an understanding of each other now that we will do that part. They'll write something crazy and then we'll ground it, and I think that's why the show works. I think everyone always talks about how it has its own vibe and style. I don't know, it's its own thing, and I think it's that combination.
What one thing from the books do you wish the show was doing?
I don't know. They've done most of Alice's storyline.
Not about your character, about anybody.
Yeah. I want Summer to go Janet, Margot. Fuck. You know what I'm talking about. I want her to go on her quest to the desert. That I'd be curious about. Yeah. I don't know. They cover a lot of what's in the books, just in a different order.
What's favorite scene?
That's okay.
One more question. What scene have you filmed that, what's your favorite scene that you've filmed so far?
Over the whole show?
Sure. Or just the season?
Well, I can't really talk about the scenes I filmed this season, but I like killing the beast. I like when Alice gets to be a badass. I mean, she is always a badass, but she has a determination that I really enjoy playing. So I like that. I liked when I killed the beast. Except for I love the actor Charles who plays the beast. I'm really sad he's not on the show anymore. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.